Welcome to Carrying Wayward, a supernatural podcast for fans who aren't ready to let go and newcomers to the series who are ready to jump in. I'm Marie Vigoul.
And I'm Drew Schulman. In this episode, we're diving into Supernatural Season 9, Episode 2, Devil May Care. Let's get this show on the road.
We're back, again, doing this again.
We're officially in the flow. It's no longer new, but it's still fresh.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. We do have a few reminders before we get started, though.
First off, we want to thank people who are supporting us through Coffee or Patreon. You're the ones keeping the lights on around here and allow us to put on this show without having to pay out of our own pockets. We've also made some changes to the tiers of our Coffee and our Patreon, so make sure to check those out. And if you'd like to support us, we'd be very grateful if you did.
Also, we are recording this way, way in advance. This is June. So we, the goal is so that we have a bunch of episodes in the bank so that we can, release in a more comfortable way for us. But the thing is that we have no idea how people have reacted to the last episode, but we kind of hope that you guys liked it also. So anyway, I'm sure that it's going to be received warmly, or it was received warmly, depending on when you're listening to this. And we're super touched and weepy when it actually happens because we have the best listeners in the world.
We do. We also made some changes to our format with a slightly different story time, a slightly different critical time, and our new segment, the What Did We Learn? We hope you like them. We also need new voicemails. So make sure to send us voicemails by email. You can ask us questions, respond to something we said during these new episodes, or answer Mary's critical time question.
Please do answer my questions.
What are you, a sphinx? What is this?
Oh, I love that actually.
I want a fan art now of Mary as a sphinx, please. I could be anything else in Egyptian mythology. You surprise me, but I want Mary as a sphinx.
I love it. Please make that happen. But without further ado, it's time for me to ask, are we ready for the recap?
Count me down.
3, 2, 1, go.
As we alluded to last week, the King of Hell, aka the King of the Impala's Trunk, is revealed. We've got Crowley back, and he has now made a lovely new home for himself, bound and chained up in the torture dungeon of the bunker. Kevin is not so pleased to see him, given the history of torture and mob murders. But they convince him that they need Crowley to find demons on Earth. And then we have Abaddon's back now, and she's convincing demons, you shouldn't be possessing like a little old grandma. Go for the military guys who have the equipment and credentials that can make you more dangerous. And we get some hunters being kidnapped, and Abaddon has them armed to the teeth, but luckily our passenger, the possession angel, saves the day. And Sam has to now reel with the fact that people don't like him and new young hunters. And Crowley and Kevin get into it, and it goes messy, but Crowley seems okay, and Kevin is loved. Time.
Oh man, this episode was written by Andrew Dabb, directed by Guy B, and it originally aired on October 15th, 2013. Yeah, from the recap, we know that this is a tough episode. It also kind of sets up a lot of things for the season. It shows us the very real repercussions of Dean's choices from the last episode. So there's definitely a lot going on. Like you said, it's not new, but it's still fresh, that's literally what's going on in this episode. So for some notable moments in the long game, we've got the very iconic phrase, "He's the junk in my trunk," because you said that Crowley was the king of the Impala's trunk, but I do want to be clear that he is actually the king of Dean's trunk.
Oh, I can only imagine the fanfics that has inspired.
Uh-huh. Abaddon is back, and honestly,
Yeah,
I'm really excited about
baby.
that. Yes, exactly. I love Elena Hoffman, and by the way, I got to meet her in photo ops.
Yes. Oh my God.
She smells so good. so pretty. Like she is prettier in person than on TV. Like it's actually crazy. Anyway,
Amazing.
we do see Kevin again. This is the first time this season, so that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, happy to have him back. Honestly, like after so much last season and the like stress of it, like everything that was going on last episode, it's like, oh right, Kevin's a thing. What's he up to?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because last episode was just like so focused on Sam and Dean that like there was very little room for anything else and anyone else. So like it was just kind of nice to get back into the bunker, into this, into that, like into to get our bearings again with the show. We do get a little Canadian mention, which obviously I
Yeah.
had to highlight, because Irv mentions a case that he worked with Bobby up in Saskatoon, which is in Saskatchewan, people. And Dean tells him that Bobby would talk about it every time that he would drink Labatt's, and that just made my heart feel very warm.
It was one of those things where as soon as he said it, I like had to pause and be like, "Is there a Saskatoon in America?" And this is a weird thing. And then like the Labatt line, and I'm like, "Now we good."
No, we're talking about, he might as well have said Timmy's. Like, I'm just saying.
Oh, you know, Bobby would love a Timmy's. I don't know, something about that. I just feel like he'd be so comfortable sitting there with a coffee and a donut.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? He would love that. He would also love the Le Rap du Travailleur from the morning, like what is it called?
The farmer's wrap there,
Yes,
yes.
there you go.
I love that one.
I think it's called differently in different provinces, to be honest with you, because
Hmm.
I've seen it called the construction wrap before also. So now you're telling me it's the
Oh
farmer's wrap, and
no.
I'm just like, oh my God. Anyway, Canadian parenthesis closed. 17 use Stark and Banner as their FBI aliases, which is quite a departure from their usual classic rock aliases. But this was also 2013, where like Marvel was like a thing, capital T.
Yeah, like I make a note, like I know there's other episodes where I've definitely like had to like Google it real quick to be like, who is this referring to? And like, okay, it's a band I'm tangentially aware of. This one, like as soon as in the names, I was like, oh, I like this. This is bonus points.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because like I feel like anybody in 2013 who would have heard Stark and Banner would have been like, what?
True. It would have been right before it was big enough for everyone to know it.
So this episode is also full of like really good Crowley bangers. But I really love the exchange. We're friends. You tortured me. I torture all my friends. It's how I show love.
Such a good Crowley line. Really, like he gets to like he chews the scenery in his scenes here with Kevin, but in like the most like I just wish we could have gotten like an extra like 30 minutes of Crowley just like interacting with Kevin.
Honestly, kind of same. I mean, I think that Mark Shepard always steals the show when he's on screen.
Yeah.
Um, so there you go. And it's just I torture all my friends. It's how I show love. And just the delivery on it. Oh my God, I love this man so much. He also kind of puts like a doubt in Kevin's mind about whether or not Linda, his mom, is actually really dead or not. And I kind of wanted to know what you thought about that because like the doubt is inserted, but like Kevin doesn't take the bait. Like it's so, what did you think about that?
I mean, he does kind of take the bait. Like he was ready to leave, and it really took like being convinced not to. And I have a lot of feelings about that because there's the part of me that's like, uh, realistically, it's probably bullshit. This is Crowley. I will always assume a lie before the truth.
Right.
But then, like, also, this is Crowley. I could see him being that messed up to like leave her alive somewhere in some way,
Yeah.
almost like a bargaining chip or as like a safety net if he ever needed to use it as a bargaining chip. Like,
He has like a storage locker full of people that he's kidnapped, like that's the goal.
I also imagine he probably owns like a hotel somewhere where they're being held hostage, but like it's a pretty normal place and just like living a semi regular life, just can't leave and there's demons everywhere,
Hmm.
like a cursed nursing home.
Oh my gosh. Woo. I don't know why, but that really got me. I was like, no, none of that. Thank you.
This week, our theme is control. While the boys are getting back into the swing of things post Angel Fall, we need to see what has changed from before. While Dean wrestles with his control of the situation, i.e., Ezekiel, Cass missing, and the King of Hell living in his trunk, Sam doesn't even know he's losing control to Ezekiel, let alone that he's sharing his body with Angel. We also add two new ingredients to the soup today, Kevin and Crowley, and the control they each seek and lack.
I just need to say that I absolutely love that you're talking about people soup. Um, this feels very Rude Eats and very Nell to me.
It was not intentional, but I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, like this episode is just like there's a lot going on, and I just think that, yeah, I think you summarized it really well. Like there's just a lot of power dynamics, a lot of like fighting for control. So yeah.
Well, I mean, there we go with Sam right away, who doesn't even know that he is currently lacking control because he doesn't even know that there's control to be lost. He's completely unaware of Ezekiel's presence and how this other entity within him can just take over from time to time.
Hmm.
Like, I really think it bears bringing up Sam's time with Lucifer in his head. Obviously, they are very different types of passengers inside of him, but knowing how violated Sam was by Lucifer, the thought of him learning of Ezekiel is actually terrifying to me. Again, Dean is doing whatever it takes to save Sammy, even if it's something that goes directly against his wishes, which Dean fully acknowledged last episode in regards to Sam in possession, and then violates it anyways in a very extreme sense. Like, I truly fear how he will react when this information does become known to him.
Honestly, that is such a good point. Like, I'm really glad that you're bringing this up early in the game, because I think that it speaks to like how hurt Sam is inevitably going to be when he inevitably finds out what's been happening, right? Like, because like you said, he felt violated by Lucifer and he said so, and it even like manifested, and we've talked about this quite a bit, like in his relationship with food. So, like, because again, like this idea of like what goes into his body. So, like, how do you think that he's going to feel when he finds out that he has like another entity inside of his body that he doesn't know about, and that Dean actually tricked him into saying yes to that entity? And like, obviously, like I'm not even spoiling anything here. Like these are just facts. Like we know that this is where the story is headed. Like I think it's pretty clear at this point, given what we know from past seasons, the brothers hiding stuff from each other, what happens when it comes to light. Um, so to me, that's really the heartbreaking part about all of it. Like it's knowing in advance about the fallout that's inevitably going to happen when he finds out.
Oh my god, yeah. Like you said, not a spoiler. I am fully aware this is going to be like heart wrenching and incredibly difficult, and I'm not looking forward to it.
I think Sam might walk into a lake again. Like that's how bad he's gonna. Like I'm
that's
making
that's
jokes, but
another
like
long walk off a short pier. Yes.
yes, exactly. Oh, I hate this, honestly. I really hate it. I hate when they do that. But anyway, but
Well, look, I'll shift our focus again on Sam, but this week it's his interaction with Tracy, that new hunter they meet.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I like Tracy.
Oh yeah, there's this part of me that's like convinced we're never going to see her again, but I kind of like her and I would love to see her pop up again in like another one off or something. Maybe we do. I don't know.
Maybe we do. We don't know.
Ooh.
Oh,
I mean, she presumably she lives to the end of the episode, as far as I can tell, unless we're missing some details.
yeah, there you go. No, no,
But
she does live.
speaking of death, she blames Sam for the death of her parents because he let Lucifer free and led to the demons that killed her parents. Apparently, the demons actively celebrating Sam letting Lucifer free while killing her parents, which is whatever. Okay, that's a crazy way to get plot information, but sure. But we've seen them deal with the consequences of their actions and remind each other time after time how they can't blame themselves for the actions of others. All they can do is fight and help. Ultimately, after very little provocation from Dean, she does seem to relent a bit by the end of the episode, but Sam still holds his own guilt.
I mean, I'd be pissed off too if I were in her shoes,
Oh, yeah,
you
no.
know?
Again, I think the thing here is she's in the right. She's allowed to be upset about
Yeah,
this. And I think the fact that she like so quickly comes around by the end of the episode was almost like jarring. Like I kind of almost wanted her to leave.
yeah,
Like, hey, we got out of this. Thanks. Doesn't mean we're square, and then run off kind of thing.
yeah, 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 for sure.
Um, but it's this guilt over the negative repercussions of his actions, which is tied to his feelings of being in control. If he truly were in control of everything he did at all times, then he feels responsible for everything that follows from those actions. Looking at our final scene this episode, as Sam and Dean discuss this very subject matter, Dean tries to help Sam clear his conscience because he was not in control. A lot of his actions were forced hands or tricky situations where no one really could know the outcome. And Sam was straight up manipulated into the situation with malicious intent and deception.
So I really like how you're linking control to responsibility here because it's a reminder to me that having control also means having to take responsibility. And also, like, when you're not in control, how much responsibility do you actually bear? And I think, especially with the situation in which Sam finds himself in this beginning of season 9, that might be a question to keep in mind as we move forward.
Ooh, thank you. Interesting. I'll be keeping it in the back of the mind with the rest of the season. I'm excited.
Yeah, don't be too excited about this.
I mean, yes, excited to make these connections
Yes,
in
there you
otherwise
go.
dreadful scenarios.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of dreadful scenarios, segues here today. Dean is just digging holes with his small white lies. Hiding the truth from Sam is the only way Dean can really control the situation currently, and it's gonna get away from him. Like, not even like if, it's when. Like, Sam is a bit too smart for this.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the thing with little white lies is that they turn into big fat lies real quick if you don't actually stop telling them. Like, that is the problem with little white lies. And Dean is setting himself up, again, we can see this, to have to continuously tell bigger and bigger lies. And ironically, he's also trying to maintain control of the situation by doing that, but he's actually like he might actually end up losing control of the situation by doing that, right? So like the thing that he's doing in order to maintain control, which is tell those little white lies, is actually the thing that eventually is going to make him lose control. And that's what I want people to remember about little white lies.
Mm-hmm. And like the thing is too, it's like uh, there is no alternative. It's either he comes clean to Sam, which we know obviously with from what Ezekiel has told us would kill him, presumably, or he continues this game of lying until eventually it becomes an impossible narrative that falls apart. And again, Sam is smart. He's going to put two and two together eventually and figure out that something's going on.
And we also know how Dean reacts when he piles on the lies. We've seen it. We know that it eats him up inside. So like yeah, there you go. That's all I'm going to say about that for now.
Oh, foreshadowing, eh? Well, Dean's attempts to keep things under control and as normal as he can, again, supernatural excluded, with Kevin this time living at the bunker, and now Crowley locked up in their demon torture chamber. Uh, Shock to no one, Kevin and Crowley do interact, and we'll get to that in a bit. But I want to focus on Dean's speech to Kevin. Dean tells Kevin how much he means to them, and not as an asset or some kind of prize to be protected, but truly as a member of the family, on par with Sam and Cass. And while Dean is doing some fibbing to keep things good with Sam, this to me does not feel like a lie. I do not believe it's a lie. Dean cherishes family above all else and has truly embraced fan family more so than he ever did before. And I feel that.
Yeah, honestly, it was just such a lovely moment. Like, I really
Hmm.
love this moment. I love this speech. I love how Dean is able to turn Kevin around in this moment. And I think that it might be the first time that we hear like this kind of stuff coming from Dean for someone who's not like Cass or Bobby, like this is the first time that we're kind of like moving a little bit like outside of this very, very tight-knit circle. And I think that it's showing that like the found family that him and Sam have like been putting together slowly but surely is actually like growing and has that room to grow, right? It's no longer like it's only us, it's just you and me, it's just this. It's like, no, no, we are actually not just us. Like, this is a community. We are people who come together and who support each other. And I just really, really love that. Because they start off the series like basically thinking that the only people that they can count on is each other and arguably John. Although, like, obviously, I'm not sure if count on is something that you can say about John. But anyway, but look at them. Like 9 seasons later, who would have thunk? And they made like this really like weird and lovely little family for themselves. And I just love that for them.
Yeah, it's truly heartwarming to see this growth in Dean. I mean, for everything that he's doing wrong right now between him and Sam and his whole everything, it's these moments of like growth we're seeing even into this episode with the way he treats Kevin and talks to him and like yes, I think I would have loved maybe a little more sympathy for the your mother might still be out there
Yeah.
and let's figure that out when we can and like not shutting it down. But ultimately, I think he said what needed to be said to get the point across the right way, and it truly felt like the right way to do it.
Hmm. What I really love also is like it's the fact that Supernatural is one of those shows where like we see very flawed characters intentionally written that way, right? Like they
Hmm.
are very human. So we're seeing like Dean who's lying to Sam about like this medical decision that he made or like this supernatural super medical decision like quote unquote that he made for him. Um but we also see him like really welcoming Kevin into his family and it just feels like Dean is capable of quote unquote good and bad things as a person. And I really love that. I love that these characters are fleshed out in that way.
Yeah, you know what? The fact, like, I think I complain so frequently in writing and stuff when you get characters who are just like so two dimensional or
Hmm.
like you don't get that level of like balance in them. Like Dean is such a good example of that. Of like, look at these amazing moments of heartfelt love and compassion he can carry, but also just like is lying and being terrible and like ruining his trust with his brother and like setting up this huge fault. But like, that's human. That is normal. I mean, not
Exactly.
the letting
No,
an angel
no, yeah,
possess your
for sure.
brother to save his life and fighting demons, but like the emotional side of like we all
Right.
contain multitudes, and sometimes we have to do
Yes.
things we don't really like doing, or we
Yeah.
have to take the
Yeah.
darker the lesser
Or
of
we
two
just do
evils.
dumb shit, like
Oh
that's
yeah.
like that happens too.
Hi, hello, hi, yes. Um, we'll move on to Kevin for a bit here. Who's in some pretty rough shape. He's been trapped in the bunker for a while, due to some sort of like override system, and now having been stuck there and finally feeling like he's got a little bit of freedom and he can they're back and things are okay. Let's talk about this. He is like the epitome of not in control. He's been locked in a bunker by some sort of like ethereal security service that has just like shut him down.
I absolutely love that Dean does not believe him. He's like, sure, let's say that. Like, Dean is like every IT person who is like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like,
Did you turn the bunker off and on again?
yes, exactly. There you go. Oh, it must have been a reset when you walked in the door. Right, let's just say that.
Oh, the amount of IT issues I solve in a day by just being in the room with the machine.
Oh my God, Drew, the other day, I had to call my IT service and I was like, hey, listen, like I've got a problem. Like for some reason, my password's not working for this. Can you just reset my password? And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, for sure, no problem. And so we chat and he's like, okay, what's your username? And I give him my username and he's like, that's not possible. It should be something like this. And I'm like, oh my God. And I
I
was
sh
just, it was the right password, but the wrong username.
I
And I
shit
was,
you not. That was the exact issue I solved today.
the guy laughed at me so much. We laughed together. To be honest, it was fun. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm a dumbass. Like, just go about your day. Enjoy. So anyway, sorry about that. So to come back to Kevin though, I don't think that Kevin has actually felt in control of his life like since that night that the Winchesters broke like that weird Leviathan rock in half, right? Like it's just and it just feels like it has just gotten worse and worse and worse over time for him. Like I just feel so bad for him. Poor Kevin.
He has been on a pretty like sufficient downward spiral. Like I need a win for him. I just need him to get something good out of this, please.
Right.
Uh, but it's this is exactly what Crowley is taking advantage of. He's trying to use this against him when they eventually do meet face to face, letting Kevin be the one in control, submitting to his torture in hopes of using him as an escape. Lucky for us, Kevin, while taking out his aggressions, is at least smart enough to not go too far or do anything stupid.
I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there, but Crowley is always up for kinky stuff, so I'm not entirely sure that he didn't actually enjoy what was happening. But anyway, like, let's just move on from that. I do think that you have a point about like the fluidity of control and how sometimes like you got to give a little to get a little, right? Like in this moment, Crowley, quote unquote, pretended. or like wanted Kevin to feel like he had the upper hand, but really like Crowley sort of had the upper hand. And it's just like I like that it just moved very quickly in terms of like who had control and who had power over the situation.
It really feels like if you've ever had to like watch or read any of those like horrible like how to succeed in business type books as like a CEO, and it's like,
Hmm.
oh, like, give them the first thing for free so they think that they have the power and control, but secretly you're running the show, and like the super sleazy business things you hear people
Yeah.
do, and it's like also super Crowley coded.
But there you go, right? Abaddon says that very clearly. He's a salesman,
Yup.
right? And everything that is like in the greasy salesman manual, Crowley uses.
But I will have to say at the end of this episode, at least for Kevin, we've already touched on this amazing moment we get with Kevin and Dean, where he gets kind of this speech, family speech, and it really made me think about Sam's departure prior to season one and attempt to leave the family he feels trapped in order to regain some semblance of control over the direction of his life. I don't disagree with either him or Dean at that moment. If I were Kevin, I'd want to leave too and find my own way and potentially my mother. But Dean's right, it's not safe, and here with them is the safest place right now.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin is in just such a sad place in this moment. Like, he really deserves like a really good turnaround, you know?
He does. Just like I'm hoping like whatever the mid-season is here at some point we do get like a moment where like maybe they find out his mother is alive and at least plant the seed of like we'll go deal with this later.
Yeah, exactly. Reunited. Wouldn't that be lovely?
He just deserves something good. I mean, yeah, he gets a family, already pretty nice, but I'd like to see his mother get like
Yeah, for
let her
sure.
be back. Like I know she's gone, but like I would be so happy to get her back. She was also a badass, and I want her back.
She was.
The other half of this equation, which is Crowley, short and sweet here. Crowley, the king of hell, the one used to holding all the cards, and maybe a few extras up his sleeve, is now without anything besides the good grace of Sam and Dean not killing him in hopes that he may help them. Yeah, a real shift in power dynamic here, Crowley.
It's really interesting because he tries to get Kevin, right? Like with his
Mm-hmm.
sales tactic, like, oh, we can help each other. We can do this. Then when he sees that it doesn't work, he's like, he tries the same on Sam and Dean. And he's like, okay, here are these names, like of these demons. Which, by the way, can we talk about the ridiculousness of
Yeah.
asking him to name all the demons in the world? Like, I'm sorry, but that just felt like trying to like lay out already cooked spaghetti. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels so pointless.
Again, do you have any way to confirm they're still in the same vessel you knew they were in whatever number of weeks or days or months ago? Do we know? Okay, cool. So he's possessing a guy named John Smith. Great. Which one? Where? Do you have an address? A phone number? Do you have demon social insurance numbers we can be using here to identify people? Like, this information is literally useless unless it's like the most unique name and address.
Uh, yeah. So
anyways,
anyway,
anyways, we do
anyway.
get we do get interesting moments of Crowley alone with his thoughts, recounting moments from his end of season 8 capture and attempted saving. Looking at this through the lens of control, it's interesting because I don't really know if one outcome or the other would truly be the in control versus loss of control. Does regaining a conscience and leaving behind your evil ways against your will count as control or the reverse?
So that's a really good question, right? And I mentioned earlier, like this idea of like the fluidity of control. Um, and I guess that like this question that you're bringing to us is a big reminder that like things can change real quick in Supernatural, but like in Supernatural, but also when it comes to control and who controls the situation. And I just like Crowley has gone through like a pretty impressive fall from grace, right? In the last few episodes, like he used to be king of hell. Now he's being usurped by Abaddon. He's in Dean's trunk for days. He is now in a dungeon by himself. He can't even get Kevin to bend to his will. And it's just like huge fall from grace for him. And it just really reminded me of like the angels who literally fell to earth just last episode or just 2 episodes ago. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, so like the board game is changing. Like we have literally turned the tables on a lot of things when it comes to control and power.
It's such an interesting dynamic, especially like I think Crowley is like one I am most excited. So like my thoughts as far as story goes this week is like I feel like nothing majorly new got brought up to my attention this week. Like nothing's really scratching in my brain. Like I kind of would love to see what the adventure of Kevin on his own would have looked like on the hunt for his mother. I more than anything, and I've already said this, I want to see how Crowley evolves this season. Like there is something going on, whether it is a whatever, like coming to terms with what happened to him and just going back to his evil ways, just seeing how he handles that, or what I'm hoping he does just stay relegated to the bunker for now, acting as like a pseudo guy in the chair for them, sharing his knowledge and expertise,
Tied
allowing
to a
us to
chair.
like, yeah, okay, attached to a chair, not by choice, but like in that
Well,
sense. Oh,
not by choice, but by pleasure.
there you go. Maybe he can leave wherever he wants. He's really just enjoying this game. We don't
I'm
know.
just telling you that I think he does. I think he enjoys what's happening. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, there's a part of him that's loving this game. Like for him, it is a game. Even if he's losing right now, it's a game that he can eventually win.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Absolutely.
and again, having Abaddon back, like she is such a great foil to Crowley in this race to rule hell, breaking rules and such. Seeing her be more organized and militaristic is an interesting change of pace. So we have angels who are clearly much tougher than demons, but also demons who are becoming tougher. Like it's a really interesting balance, both in the angels versus demons, but also like Abaddon taking on this somewhat more organizational leadership role, which she criticizes Crowley for a little bit. It's a very fun, like I'm looking forward to seeing these relationships flesh out.
There is so much deliciousness in this episode when it comes to our theme of control. But I would just like for us to take a step back and think about this in a more critical way. So the word control comes from Latin contra, which means against, and rotulus, that means wheel. And it originally described like a method for ensuring the accuracy of accounts by using a second register. So the meaning of control as domination actually came a little bit later. And I really like this avenue of thinking because it opens up a lot of possibilities. So let's think of control as like checking something against something else. And let's apply that to our lovely Dean here, telling Sam that human Cass will be perfectly fine on his own without his angelic powers. Because even the first time that I watched this episode, back in my depression era, in my depression den, I could already tell that there was something off in that moment. Because Dean Winchester thinking that Cass would be fine with humans for prolonged periods of time without his powers just didn't feel like Dean. Because, Dean, I'm talking to you now. Isn't this the angel whose fake FBI badge you always have to turn upside down? Isn't this the angel whose tie you always have to adjust? Isn't this the angel with absolutely zero pop culture references? Isn't this the angel who regularly weirds people out in front of you and your brother? Dean, tell me again why you would think Castiel, angel of the Lord, would be fine on his own in the human world without his powers. But, Dean, in this moment, I don't think that this is entirely your fault, and I think that we do have to look at the writers for this one. So, Andrew Dabb is the one who wrote this episode, but funnily enough, Andrew Dabb also wrote the episode where Dean tells Cass, sorry, that without his powers, he's basically a baby in a trench coat. So, what's changed since then exactly? Just in the finale of season 8, we saw Crowley gaining his humanity back and crying over his desire to be loved. And now, with Cass becoming human, it would make sense for him to yearn for love as well, right? So, let's play this out just for funsies in our little sandbox, right? Dean tells Cass to come to the bunker because, let's face it, there are enough bedrooms to accommodate Cass, right? This is not a there was only one bed situation. But then what? As a writer, how do you keep the relationship between Dean and a human Cass who is yearning to be loved from growing beyond your control? To keep it from growing past what has been deemed acceptable for the image of Dean Winchester that you wish to preserve. And so, my question to you, Drew, and to listeners at large is what exactly are the writers checking Dean's character against, not only in this episode, but in this series? And how does that impact his emotional development?
A fantastic question, and very well thought out. I enjoy a little memory lane of Cass's foibles.
His greatest
I
hits.
His greatest hits. I I think this is interesting because I really struggled with this question at first because I like almost didn't understand how to answer it, and then it hit me. Dean, both he himself, the character, and then the team writing the show are comparing him to the prototypical hunter.
Hmm.
There is an image that Dean attempts to project that many other people in universe, and from the sounds of it, the writing room as well, project onto Dean of what they think a hunter should be. This, like Dean says it himself, there's no happy ending. There's no retiring from this life. There's no picket white fence and house and family and dog for me. Dean doesn't believe those things, yet we constantly see him like step back on those things. Again, even just the way he treats the bunker and like the comforts and the foods he finds and the connections he's building, he clearly isn't the poster child of the hunting community that everyone has built him up to be, both in and out of universe. But we are still constantly seeing the show try to put him in that hole of having to be this certain way and not inviting Cass to come live with him in his what is essentially his home. Um, and I think it's the same way that Dean looks at Cass as what we assume a all-powerful angel should be, will be fine on their own, can make their way through this world, doesn't need to have their hand held and like a little kiss on the forehead before they go to bed at night. But that isn't Cass, and that isn't Dean. And it does build this weird like there's a missing piece. There's something that's missing between the Dean we know now and the Dean we've often referred to the mask he puts on to hide who he truly is. There is a level in between those two where he can be both, but he is not allowed to, both in the show and by the way it's being written, I feel.
Hmm. I think that this is such an interesting thing. So, like, we talk a lot about Dean like being bisexual, right? And the reality is that like I don't really care what flavor of queer we want him to be or we perceive him as being, but I do think that this idea that you brought up about like him being both or not being allowed to be both and him being encouraged to focus on only one aspect of who he is. Like this is really, really, this resonates very strongly for people who are bisexual, right? And so like again, like this is what I would tend to call bisexual coding because in more traditional, like in storytelling that is a little bit older. I would say like obviously post Hays Code. Um, this would be the kind of storytelling that we would tell for somebody who is bisexual. And so I just, yeah, my poor Dean. There you go.
Even when they try to avoid saying the quiet part out loud, they write it pretty damn well.
I know, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, well, whatever. Happy Pride, by the way, everybody. It's June for
I was
us, so
gonna say
happy
it's
Pride.
June for us. Happy Pride, also.
Happy Pride. Happy Pride, Dean. Happy Pride cast. Um, yeah, so that's, I guess, what I have to say about that. One last thing. Yeah, so we do know that he is telling Cass to like make his way to the bunker. But I'm just like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the Dean that we have come to know would be like, okay, I'm coming to get you, like, right.
Yeah, like I
Anyway.
understand the level of like I need to make sure Sam's okay, but like there's no reason why you couldn't be like, okay, Sam, you're taking a nice like Saturday off. Here's a thing of ice cream. There's a good documentary about birds on or some shit. I'm gonna go for a quick road trip.
You need to put Sam in front of like a serial killer documentary and he would be happy all weekend long. But
Oh my
that's what I'm
god.
saying. It's the fact that like it feels like this reunion is being delayed as much as possible, right?
Hmm.
And I'm just really excited to talk about when it happens, your feelings about it.
Oh, I there's a part of me that's very excited for that, but now that you've positioned that way, I'm like, oh god, is it gonna be much longer until they get to see each other again?
We'll see. This week, we have a message from Megan. And before we listen to it, we want to remind you to send us a 3-minute voicemail. So you can respond to anything we discussed today. You can ask us a question. You can also do that. You can also answer the question that I asked in Critical Time. So please use your recording app on your phone and email us the recording at carryingwayward@gmail.com.
Megan writes, Hi, Mary and Drew. I know that usually you ask for a 3-minute voicemail, but as someone who has a past speech issue, it's still an insecurity of mine to hear my voice. So please forgive me for writing it out. First, I wanted to thank you for all that you do with your podcast and all the great insights. I found your podcast when I was still struggling with the finale, and it's been a huge help, so thank you truly. Secondly, I had every intention to get this in before you guys got to Frontierland, but my ADHD reared its ugly head, and you guys have already gotten to it and passed it. Side note, I'm so excited to hear your takes on season 8. It's probably one of my favorite seasons. I love the Carver era, so I'm excited to listen to you guys talk about it. I just wanted to send a note about the cult. The cult has been a thing that I have desperately been thinking about since Dead Man's Blood aired, and Frontierland only added fuel to that fire. The thing is, I think the Colt wasn't a weapon made for a male hunter on horseback, as John first tells the boys. My reasoning for this is how Samuel Colt speaks about the weapon in Frontierland, as well as the design of the Colt. When Sam asks Samuel Colt for the gun, his response is, You don't want it, it's a curse. Now, you can argue that Samuel feels this way due to having a target on his back, as we see two demons after him in Frontierland. However, he lets the gun go easily, even though we know it's a key to the Devil's Gate and the devil trap Samuel is currently building, showing that Samuel was ready to let his gun go. It is interesting to know that Samuel would have been a young man when he created the cult. In fact, he was only roughly 22, the same age as Sam when he and Dean went looking for John. The cult by design, while realistically, was probably not thought too deeply about by prop crew. Historically, the Patterson, the gun the cult was based off of, would have used cap and ball method rather than bullets. Cartridge bullets that we see the Colt use were first patented in France in 1836. Narratively, that means Samuel Colt modified the barrel so that the Colt would use these types of bullets instead, perhaps for ease in loading. Also, there are intricate details of petals or vines carved into the gun, as well as the Latin non timbiomata, a reminder rather that something needed to give the Colt its power. My theory is the Colt was made for a young woman. Isn't that always the story? Someone that Samuel Colt felt needed protection, rather than a seasoned hunter needing an edge. Wouldn't he then view the gun he made as a curse if it failed its intended purpose? I just think there is so much more to the cult than we currently know. And there's a story behind it. A story that has run away with me and kept me thinking about it for almost 10 years now. And wanted to see your guys' thoughts. Shameless, slightly shameful self plug below. I am currently hoping to write and publish this story on AO3 this summer. AO3 username Irish Lullaby. If anyone is curious, or if Jensen is listening, due to getting a Carrying Wayward pin. Call me, I have roughly about 5 seasons outlined, so if you want another prequel. Anyways, you don't have to read the above statement, but I have been slowly crafting the story for about 10 years now and needed to tell another fan about it, rather than my poor roommate, who looks like she has no idea what I'm talking about. She's seen the show, but wishes it ended at season 5. Thank you again. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about season 8. Megan.
Megan, thank you so much for this incredibly thoughtful theory, I suppose. I love it. I don't know much about guns. I don't know much about Colts in general. But I love it. And it is now in my headcanon. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for reminding me that Jensen does have a Carrying Wayward pin. I completely forgot about that. So thank you for that. Thanks for reminding me of that.
It was one of those moments to like reading it. I was like, oh my god, he does.
Yeah, exactly.
um, I'm gonna go off here for a minute. The cult has been one of those things that has like been driving me nuts this series because I feel like there's so many unanswered questions. Like I am so ready to read what you've written. I am so excited. Like I want to hear all these details. I because it's such an interesting piece of equipment, and like I again, I don't know if it's the Canadiana part of it, like the guns aren't a big part of our culture here. Although moving out to the east, I'm learning they're a little more common out here. It turns out, which weird, whatever. I'm getting used to it, but I digress. My point being is like I had no idea that like it wouldn't have used standard like cartridge bullets like that. Like as soon as you say it, it makes perfect sense. You're right, given the time period. But I'm like so intrigued to like know more. I think like there was a point where I was tracking like how many bullets were left and where they were, and like so many little details that were just like kind of just like flippantly like left to the side, like oh whatever, it's a MacGuffin. It'll come when it needs to be there, and it'll go and we don't want it anymore. All that to say, oh my god, yes, I will read all the ramblings about the cult you have. I love this, and I like. I've really like I've reserved the fact that like it's probably not going to come up again unless there's like a weird one-off where they decide they need it to be relevant for like some weird reason. We're not going to get much more than that. I'm willing to bet we just never see it again at this point. But like, my God, what I would kill for to get like a prequel with Samuel Colt making it for the first time and like going to France and learning about those cartridge bullets and meeting a woman there. That's why he builds it. And like, oh,
Did you hear that, Jensen? Did you hear that? Yeah. Yeah, we want that. Okay,
do
thank
it.
you.
Do it.
Bye.
Oh, I was going to say, lamest thing I could pitch. I'll voice the cult because in this world it would have to talk for some weird reason.
Oh
Because why
my
wouldn't it?
God. I don't know why, but that made me immediately think of like the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch and like Salem, who is like this weird ass animatronic thing. Like, oh my
Oh my
God.
God. Looking back on it, it's so good, but so bad. I love that.
Oh, it's so good, but so bad. Absolutely.
Well, that brings us near the end of the show, but we always have to ask, what did we learn this week?
So this episode really got me thinking about like one kind of control that we didn't see this episode, and that's like shared control or shared decision making. The episode basically really shows us control almost as a synonym to power, as very like zero sum, meaning like that in order for somebody to have control, then somebody else has to give up some of theirs, right? And I don't know, I just feel like there are other ways to look at that and like thinking about how group decisions can be made through decision making that isn't actually zero sum. And yeah, I guess the hippie in me is very dissatisfied with this decision, this definition or this representation of control.
No, I can see that. It's like we kind of went over, like there's so many different ways to like consider control and see how it exists and works. I think Crowley, as you point out, was a great example of like being in control by letting someone else have control of the situation. And I think there is a lot. While we got an incredibly nuanced look at how control like can be fluid in this episode, it left a lot of other tangents untouched.
Exactly. What about you, Drew? What did you learn?
I mean, I learned that being in control, while like this episode kind of does show us, often is like depicted as the right way, like taking control of one's own life or future, like Kevin tried to do. But being in control also means responsibilities and by extensions, consequences, as we saw with Sam, or his lack of control, but still getting consequences. You know what I mean? I think it's very healthy to know your limits, and being in control isn't always the answer for everyone. Like, I know I would be a terrible boss. I would not want to have me as a boss. And I'm okay with that. I'm happy in my role, sometimes being a cog in a machine and a part of something great and happily doing what I'm good at and not needing to control a bunch of other people in what they may or may not be doing. And that's, again, not every project needs to have me in charge. I'm happy in my place in the right places.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we very much hope to see you again next week.
Have a nice one.
This was Carrying Wayward, a supernatural podcast produced by Rochelle Castellano, hosted by Marie Vigourou
and Drew Schulman. Thank you to everyone supporting us on Ko-fi or Patreon,
including our bunker patrons, Jeremiah Thomas and Michelle.
We'd also like to thank Jake Lionheart for our music.
Head over to carryingwayward.com to become a patron or a Ko-fi subscriber, and for our merch store and our socials. And write us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Carry on, our wayward friends.